Ha ha! Ooh, these cameras look a mighty bit close to the treadmill. Let me see something. Ha ha! Let me see something a minute. Great, why is it? Get your chair. If you're kicking your feet, get your weights. If you're doing weights with the chair, get your water. Because they said it's supposed to be 90 here today. It's not 90 now, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying, y'all. Okay. Hey, I finally did order another tripod. Go me, go me, go bumblebee. Let's see. I gotta remember to replace my YouTube videos. But I got this new I remember. This is my music. This here my juke joint. This here my juke joint that you listening to. Ain't nobody else's juke joint but mine. Yep. Let's get to walking. Hey, I think natural light looks good, right? Oh, I remember that guy saying that. He says, try to use natural light. I thought it was important that I use artificial light. The Bluetooth device is ready to pair. Betsy couldn't talk. Betsy ain't say nothing. Okay. Yeah, let's start this walk, y'all. As I said, let's get this party started right. Every day and every night. Yes, indeed. I am going to be so happy. I'm happy now when I look back at the videos. But I'm going to be like super duper, duper whooper happy when I look back at the videos because I had my chance to be very happy in the morning. Very, very happy in the morning. And no one said, oh, you can't be happy every morning. But then in the same breath, the coach used to tell you, you're supposed to be happy in the morning that you woke up, that he woke you up. So then I was all confused if I'd hated. So I said, just wait till you get grown, get on your own, get your own house. You can be happy as you want to. But then you meet a mate, and the mate that you met is only happy in the morning if you have sex with him. So, mornings you don't care whether he's happy or not. And then mornings that it's very important for you that he is happy. So, but I'll be able to look at 2 years of videos where every morning I was happy to take in this air, to do this walk, to let my matter exercise and tell my matter that it matters. It matters to me. They said black life matters. My life matters to me. You know? And I found out that's another thing. You couldn't do too much in cults because you'd be considered vain. I used to hear all the time, you think too much of yourself. You think too highly of yourself. That's how the cults break you down. To myself, I'd be saying, well, ain't I supposed to? And they're like, no. No, y'all see me in my sausage pants, right? Whoo, child, the squeeze is on. So, I tell you, I'm very happy. So if anything else, what I do, I can sit down and laugh and smile at myself and say, look, Vicki, and there you are, you're happy. And even now you're happy. Yep, yep. I'm excited about life. Yep. And this year when I turn 65, I have to go back to when I was like, I think I was 34, 33, 34. And certain things were put in place for me. I said, I see all them old people pulling out little pocketbooks full of medication. Oh, bedside table full of medication. Popping pills all the time. I was like, I don't want that life. I ain't about that life. And me said, well, you gotta exercise. Not right now, just walk. Just keep walking, walk, and keep walking, and then after that, walk some more. I was like, wow, okay. And I was like, I'd already been to New York's school for public media. I think it was somewhere on 23rd Street in New York City. And I was very interested in getting into my writing and And of course I was in no position whatsoever to write anything. I mean, anyway, it came to me because I didn't know any better. And at the time it was like that. That basically as African American authors, you only came into your own when you got old. So at 33, 34, I said, listen, alright, sitting down talking to myself, because that's the age of planning your next phase of life, 33, 34. Don't ignore it, don't run from shit, face it and make the changes you need to make. Or prepare to make the changes you need to make. So, I was like, okay, now, all the writers that you read, the African American writers that you read and know about, playwrights, etc., they're old. So, basically, you got some time. And while you have that time, go to school and sharpen your talents. They're exercising. And at that time, my 33-year-old self said, you gotta start taking vitamins. Very clear. Vitamin C, cod liver oil pills, and B12. That was it. So, instead of walking, first thing I did was call my girlfriend. Told her I'm giving up my apartment because I needed someone to watch my daughter while I worked. So I got rid of everything in the apartment and I moved in with her. She lived in Fort Greene, Annie Pearl. And I started walking from work to her house. I started walking. I would meet my girlfriend Nikki, and we would walk over the Brooklyn Bridge to Fort Greene, and then I would go to Fort Greene with my girlfriend Annie Pearl, where my daughter was, And Nikki would continue on to pick up her kids and then take a bus or two and go home. And from that walking, I was able to secure a place in Westchester County. That was my first step of getting out of New York City. I didn't know how to get out, but I knew if I stayed in New York City, I would die in New York City. I know I would die in New York City if I stayed in New York City. So I had to get out. So, my first step, and I wanted to get out of New York, but for some people they can just pick up and jump into another state, but I had to do it like a county. I had to like leave Kings County, Brooklyn, New York, and go to Westchester County, Mount Vernon, the city. And that all came about from walking. I just met people. Every time we walk over that ocean, Nikki and I would talk about what we wanted to do with our lives, how we wanted to change our lives. Nikki wanted to work with the subway department because her husband worked for the subway, New York City subway, transit, New York City transit, down in subways. So she always wanted it. She had a temp job at the city of New York, mental health something, but it wasn't a secure job, it was a temp job. So that's where I would meet her, and that's where we would walk, because it was down like, she was like 5 blocks away from the Brooklyn Bridge, and I was coming from around 36th Street. I listened to myself and I walked. And then from that exchange, I called Nikki and I said, we're going to meet up and walk across the bridge. And she said, yes, Vicki, for the last time, because I got a job with New York City Transit. I was like, get out of here. We must have spent like 2 months walking back and forth across the Brooklyn Bridge, talking about stuff like that. And one of her things was wanting to work for New York City Transit. Me wanting to get out of New York City, nay, New York State. Didn't know how, didn't know what would come through. So then Nikki got her subway transit job. And she was just about another life. I would speak to her every now and again. So I wound up getting closer to people on my job. And talking with them, and I met I can't say the one best friend, but a bestest friend, Zelene. I call her Bean. For old Bean, like, good friend. I mean, like peas in the pod Bean. And she was living somewhere in Harlem in a room. And one day, I can't remember the girl's name, she came in and she said, you guys want a room up in Westchester County? In Mount Vernon, where I live? There's 2 rooms available, and I'll give you a reference. She'll let you come in. And we were like, sure, when can we meet it? She said, tonight. Now, we had to get off, you have to know, New York City, and where the Bronx cuts off at Westchester County. And we walked with her that night, but we were so excited and so much fun. We didn't realize it was a mile and a half from the train station. We never put it together. We were just so happy, and I was so happy that I would be getting out of New York. And we took the room. So, I think I'm saying all this to say is through walking, because that was the first exercise. That was a free exercise. That was free. I could take the train. I could walk. I think it was on 36th Street, maybe 38th Street, because I could either go to the 34th Street train station or the 42nd Street train station. And number two, shirt company in America. Told you all about that the other day. And just from walking. Just from walking. So now I'm out of New York City. I'm in Westchester County, but I'm still working in New York City, which is killing me because I wanted to be so far, at least not to be able to see any more trains, not to be jammed on the subway. Let me tell you all a funny story. The job I used to have, it was my sister at the visiting nurse service. We used to read all the time. Remember I told you, I didn't buy books by whether it's a good story, #1 New York Times, buy stuff like that. I bought it for its thickness. If it was thick, I wanted it. I wanted to read it. Well, Stephen King had The Stand. It's nice and thick for me. I mean, I'm on the train for an hour. 2 hours a day. You gotta do something. Some people can stare. Some people can dig in their nose. I chose to read. And it's summertime, I remember. Was it? Yeah, it was summertime. Wintertime. Cold. And somehow, subways are always cold in the wintertime and stifling. I don't mean hot. I mean, like if you had asthma, you wouldn't be able to make it from one stop to the next. Stifling hot. And I'm reading about Stephen King, The Stand, and it's a book, end of the world books that I don't read anymore. And this virus got loose and everybody started dying. And I'm on the subway, as usual. It's crowded, as usual. People are leaning over me, as usual. We're sorting in the car, as usual. Ha ha! And all of a sudden, the coughs seem different because I'm reading the book. So I'm looking up and I'm hearing. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing every bleeding body is coughing and coughing and coughing and coughing, honey. I was paranoid as hell. I had to keep telling myself, it's the book, Vicki. It's the book. There's no virus loose. Right? Wow, it just dawned on me. Because we're in the pandemic now. And I'm in quarantine. Wow. Stephen King's book in real life. That's right, The Stand. You used to get it in mucus out of your nose and stuff like that and in your chest. Holy shit, just like the COVID. Wow. Well, anyway, I was happy. I wanted to get out of New York. But I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me was Summertime. I remember the book I was reading, A Cry to Heaven, Anne Rice. I was working at the Young Plaza Hotel, and I have to remember to put this in my Bed-Stuy stories because I was living in Bed-Stuyvesant. And Mike, one of the operators who was an actor in New York City, encouraged me to read Anne Rice's book, A Cry to Heaven, about the castrati singers. I thought it was fake. I went and did my research, even went to the Lincoln Center and found the record of the last castrati singer. Castrati were boys who were given to the church cult. The families gave the church their boys who looked like girls and who had the high voices. Then the priest would take them and have their balls cut off. That way they would be in a high voice. A lot of people said that's what happened to Michael Jackson, but that was just his a Jehovah's Witness religion to talk like that, because the Jehovah's talk low so they don't offend God. God is so fragile. Though he's all powerful and everything, he's just so fragile that if he hears a human's voice, something happened to him. Don't start me. It's almost time for us to take a break. Like, comment, share. Tell a friend. Okay. I'm able to stop it here. Tyrone told me I better call Tyrone. Whew. Oh. Thank you for the company. We just on a break. It took me longer to do that than it would. Thank you for the company. Yes, indeed, I'm walking, just I'm walking. Thank you for the company. I'm walking. So happy to be walking. Y'all drinking the water? Happy to be walking. Hey, let's get back to happy walking, honey. Happy walking. Whew. 25 minutes. Easy peasy, bowl of beezy. So, now I'm in Westchester County. And I'm walking. But I don't want to work in New York anymore. I'm just like real sick of it. Sick. Oh yeah, I was telling you I was on the train. The straw that broke the camel's back. I'm on the train and I'm reading The Cry to Heaven by Anne Rice about castrati singers. And castrati singers are basically, when they were boys, they were taken from like large Irish family. That's why it was so important for cults to encourage people to have large families and stuff like that. Because you would have a lot and you would give your child to the church. And the church would be able to use your child for whatever purpose they want to. And in this case, it was castrati to cut off their balls. But people tell me, ah, that's a cult. You're cutting off people's balls. Anyway, so I'm sitting there, and it's one castratic singer, Alejandro in particular, that she focuses on. And then, Anne Rice just being Anne Rice because I love her from a choir to have and all that stuff. Anyway, what broke the camel's back was I'm sitting on the subway. It's hot. It's hot. And there's some air going, but I'm talking 1981. And this man is over me, and I'm not paying him any attention because that's the way it is on the subway. And all of a sudden, there's a block. I hear a block, and I look, and there's like a drop of water, and then another one. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Am I under the air conditioner? And it's leaking. And I look up, and this man, with his head over me, in his suit, on the subway, literally sweating all over my book. I mean, water was dripping from off him, and he's over me holding on like this. I got him moved. And I was like, I gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing I ever do. So, I just knew. But every morning and every night, we walk about a mile and a half from the train station at 241st Street into Mount Vernon, New York, to our place. And all along, I'm walking and I'm saying, get out of here. I don't even want that side of it. So, I finally transitioned into Mount Vernon. I'm not even working in New York, but that's another story. A doozy. And so, I want to change professions. I want to change careers. I have the patience to do it. I took one psychology course in Knoxville College. Well, we had to go to the crazy house. And that was scary. But our psychology teacher was scary too. Scary crazy. So why he took us into the crazy house, I mean, we're standing on the floor and the crazies around us. They could have grabbed us and smashed our head into the wall, and we would be dead before they got to us. But anywho, I decided to go to the group homes. Group homes. The first one to YEI. Counselor wanted that. And I was like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. That I can do. And, whew, child. I had to rope a boyfriend, which is not hard to do in Mount Vernon. And he drove me up to Port Chester, New York. I never knew there was a Port Chester. And I went to the YI group home on King Street. And I met with the house supervisor and the staff. And I started as the weekend overnight. So this would be my schedule. I would come in Friday and work before the 12th shift. Then I would sleep from 12 until I started the 8 o'clock shift. Then I would do the Saturday So Friday from 4 to 12, sleep. And then you got $59 for sleeping. You got $6 an hour for being awake and doing it. So then I would do 8 o'clock Saturday. I wake up, start work at 8 o'clock. Work 8 to 4, 4 to 12. Go back to sleep. Wake up in the morning and do 8 to 4. And walk. Hopefully sometimes they would feel sad for me and give me a ride in the van down to the train station. But most times that had to be like a 3.5 mile walk from the house to the train station. And again, I walked it. And as I'm walking, I'm like, okay, you're off for the rest of the week. And you got stuff you can do. You know, you're going to get this, you're going to do this. And while in Mount Vernon, I started writing my first screenplay called My Sister's Hand. I studied the Cy Freed book, screenwriter's book. Screenwriter's handbook manual or something like that. And I wrote my first screenplay using that. Called My Sister's Hand. I also, at that time, to help me through on one of my walks, I mean, it was a long way. I literally walked from the border of Connecticut the long way into Port Chester. Now, I lived on the border of Connecticut where I literally could cross the street and be in Port Chester, but that wasn't that. This one was back up in the woods, and Port Chester was the city. So I had to walk up in the woods and then walk back down into the city and catch the train. And then I was thinking, so I also at that time, there was a big empty wall in the house. And I said I had to do something creative. And that's what I did first before I did the play. I measured the wall, and I got stencil and everything. And I took the play from, the poem from Langston Hughes, A Dream Deferred. And I know a lot more about Langston Hughes in that poem now than I did then. But I stenciled it on my wall, like the blue stencils. And I took out all the question marks. So the poem is like this. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Does it fester like a sore and thin run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Does it hang like a heavy load? Or does it explode? So what I did was I took out the question marks. Some places I put exclamation marks, so anybody knows me, I love exclamation marks. Make sure to have one on my grave. Anyway, I put, this is what I changed the poem to by taking out the question marks. What happens to a raisin in the sun? It dries up. What happens to that? It dries up like a raisin in the sun. It crusts over like rotten meat. Anyway, I took out the question mark. And I put, and then it explodes. So a dream deferred for me was, I was saying, if I don't do my writing, this is what's going to happen. What happens to a dream deferred? It dries up like a raisin in the sun. It crushes sugar over the... Ha! Anyway, hangs like a heavy load, and then it explodes. So from that, I wrote my first screenplay because that's true. What I found out about from Langston Hughes was he was talking about his relationship with the LGBT community and the fact like that the African Americans who were all in these cults, so many cults, honey, that he couldn't say what he was. So his dream was deferred. We all thought it was his dream of writing, but he was a successful writer. How can that be his dream? He is successful. But that whole black Renaissance writing thing, I'm going to tell you right now, that was very much an LGBTQ thing over there at the Y. I'll leave it as that. Well, no, I won't. I was very insulted because when I was in the play world and I would have to go to these theater directors, whether I was written spaces or I was putting in, my plays to be considered for this festival, that festival, this, that, which is all a bunch of bullshit. Or I was going to rent the place and I went and spoke to them and they would say stuff like, the Harlem Renaissance, those were the best writers ever. And I would say, well, there's been writers since then. There's been writers since then. And then I found out that the reason why they were best, and it would be no more like that, because that was the last time, basically, all the African American gays would live in that kind of communal situation. And that's why, you want to know the real reason why the majority of the wives are gone. It is that connection, the cults saying we don't want this gay stuff. So, it's a mess, girl. It's a mess. So that's why they all work together and doing their works. And I wondered for years why Zora Neale Hurston wasn't there. Why wasn't George Schuyler in the, he wrote Black No More, in the Black Renaissance? Why wasn't this one, J. California Cooper? Why wasn't he in the mix? And I found out that they weren't gay. That's what got you locked out. But for Zora Neale Hurston, she had a few friends, because the gay boys. I had a few gay boyfriends, very close. And they dealt with her. But when she went through that whole thing that I wish someone would write about, with some man saying that she plagiarized some work she had. I wish they would look into that. Because the same thing happened to Helen Keller. I'm just saying. And so that's how it was when I would go and do my plays, try to move my plays and stuff. So now I've written a play. I'm working in Portchester. My daughter's with her father in Massachusetts. And I didn't start going to SUNY yet. I transferred jobs. A lady who was working at YI worked in Greenwich at the Greenwich Association of Retarded Citizens. Don't attack me. That's the name. I don't have to worry about being attacked. Like I got a lot of people watching. Anywho, I started working there. And that was a trip. So I'm trying to say that's how what walking is doing and is helping me now. I'm doing my podcast. I'm doing my podcast through Anchor. I learned from the other day from the StreamYard debacle, though I thought I had someone who was going to help me with the StreamYard and everything. It didn't work out. And so I had to go back to what I know. What do I know how to do? Well, I know iMovie. I bought a microphone, and through YouTube videos, God bless YouTube. Oh, through YouTube videos, I know we're supposed to hate Google's. I don't know why. The Google, they say the Google's doing this, the Google's doing that. But Google's on YouTube, and I love YouTube. I'm telling you, if YouTube was around when my daughter was young, please. And the internet itself, I would be working from home and homeschooling her. Because I didn't work to run away from my daughter, I worked to pay bills. So, I'm extreme. So that's my walking story. And I'm trying to tell you, even at your age, you walk, you figure things out. I figured out the stuff for my podcast. Use what I know how to do. I know how to use iMovie. I learned how to do the microphone thanks to YouTube. I got a story to tell. I worked it out, and me and chess coach Victor, we're going to start recording it next week. Then on Thursday, I start recording on my bedside brownstone stories. For Pride, I will be reading the first part of my one-act play entitled Sima Versa. You're going to laugh when you see what I've done with it. You're going to listen to it, but you're going to understand why I'm doing it now. And I'm doing it now because, like I tell you, I know I'm going to be the biggest fan of my channel and happy and just looking at it saying, thank goodness you did this. Because they say when you get older and you go further back, you disconnect from people because people around you become strangers. So you can look at TV, but you don't know what you're looking at. And in my case, I don't want to look at all those old racist things. I don't want to look at Father Knows Best, white people, Leave It to Beaver, white people, Wild West, white people. I don't want to do that. I don't want my only thing that I can connect to and connect with to be white people. I can connect to me. And before I leave, like I said, I'm putting my 2 LGBTQ plays. I'm going to read it to my episodes. And I'll have those. And I'll read into my episodes, and then I'll have those. And I'll read my screenplays into my episodes. And then I'll have those to listen to, my voice, the story, as I'm laying there, whether at home with my daughter or in a facility. I have the wherewithal to say internet, YouTube. My name, Vicki Mayfield Camacho. Put it in there. That's the channel I want to look at. You know? Yes, I'm excited about it. I am. So I know people say you do it. You're supposed to do it for clicks and views and likes and stuff. But I know I'm the only one, maybe a couple more, that is really interested and excited about an old lady walking slow on a treadmill. Oh, right? Old lady walking. Oh, slow on the treadmill. Whew. You know? But for me, I got my TV channel. I got a whole 3 weeks in February that I'm going to be on the West Coast. And I will be sharing that on my channel. And looking at back at it in all its awesome wonder and glory. Whew. I didn't talk about anything on my post-it, so I'm going to leave it here. Okay, squeeze your gut, tuck in your elbow. Let's do 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. It's hot today, y'all. Tuck in the elbow, squeeze your gut. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 1 for good luck. Whew! Y'all like, comment, and share. Like, comment, share. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Tell a auntie, tell a uncle, tell a cousin. Tell a grandma, tell a grandpa, tell a friend. No stress. It's an old lady. She just walks and talks. And before you know it, 45 minutes is over with. And it's time. It's time. What am it time for, Vicki? It am time for thank you for the company. Ha ha ha. Yes indeed, I'm walking, oh yeah. Please like, comment, share. Subscribe. So happy to be walking. Happy to be walking. Thank you for the company. Yes, y'all, yeah. Whew, 45 minutes. We is good to go. Yes, indeed, I'm walking. Oh, yeah. Just walking. I'm walking. Thank you for the company. I'm walking. Hey! Ha ha! Yes! We did it, y'all! Ha ha! Yes, we start off the week right. Thank you. Thank you for your support, for your like, comment, share. I'll see you tomorrow. Same time. Have a great day. Yes, indeed. I'm walking. Oh, yeah.